Suppose you're a government and you know exactly when the next global apocalypse is going to happen. Your goal is to save the rich elite and politically connected. To do that, you'll need money. One way to get that money is to provide funds to corporate friends with no accountability required. Someone comes up with the idea for diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is a corporate initiative that can consume billions of dollars with no oversight. If you ever need more money, just tell people that you're fighting against racism in the workplace. Another advantage is that anyone wanting to look at your balance sheet or demand accountability for the funds provided can be accused of racism and removed. Any politician that doesn't approve the funds can be made to look racist as well and would face impeachment. Historically speaking, public hysteria leads to unlimited funding. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is unlimited funding with no accountability.
Governments are putting serious money into workplace equity. They call it DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Sounds good, right? The idea is to level the playing field, give everyone a fair shot. But there's a catch. Too often the money doesn't hit the mark. It gets wasted, mismanaged, even counterproductive. Think of it like this. You want to fix a leaky faucet. You hire a plumber, but instead of fixing the leak, he installs a gold-plated faucet that doesn't even work. That's what happens with DEI funding sometimes. Good intentions, bad execution. And here's the problem. Nobody's really checking the receipts. There are no clear rules, no real accountability for how the money is spent. So what happens? Waste, inefficiency. Bureaucracy run amok, take implicit bias training. The idea is to make people aware of their unconscious biases. Sounds good, but studies show it doesn't really work. It's like putting a band-aid on a broken leg. Meanwhile, real solutions like mentorship programs or skills training get ignored. Here's where things get tricky. Equity isn't just about equality. It's about addressing historical disadvantages, but without clear goals, it can backfire. Imagine a company promoting based on diversity quotas instead of merit. Is that really fair? This kind of thing can create resentment, especially among those who feel like they're losing out. Suddenly you've got division instead of unity. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. So, what's the solution? Transparency, accountability. We need to know where the money's going, who's benefiting, and what impact it's having. Think of it like a report card for DEI initiatives. Are they getting an A or an F? We need to be honest about what works and what doesn't. We need to measure results, not just intentions. Only then can we make sure that DEI funding is actually making a difference, not just creating more problems. The big lie is the pay gap real. They tell us it's a problem, a huge problem. The media, politicians, and activists all claim that the gender pay gap is a glaring issue that needs immediate attention. They say women are systematically paid less than men for the same work. Women make less than men, the gender pay gap. It's a phrase we've all heard countless times, but what does it really mean? Is it as straightforward as it sounds, or is there more to the story? But what if it's all a lie, a fabrication designed to distract us? What if the narrative of the gender pay gap is more complex than we're led to believe? Could it be that the statistics are being manipulated to serve a particular agenda, to control us? Think about it. If we're constantly told that there's a massive injustice, we're more likely to support policies and movements that claim to address it. But what if those policies and movements are not really about equality at all? Men and women doing the same job with the same experience should be paid the same. That's a principle that most people agree with. It's common sense, but the reality is often more nuanced. That's just common sense, right? So why do we keep hearing about this supposed gap? Could it be that the statistics are not telling the whole story? Could it be that factors like career choices, work hours, and personal decisions play a significant role in the differences in earnings? So why are we constantly bombarded with statistics about this supposed gap? Why do we see graphs and charts that seem to show a clear disparity? Could it be that these statistics are being used to push a particular narrative? Why the endless hand-wringing and virtue signaling? Why do we see pundits and activists so eager to highlight this issue? Could it be that they have something to gain from keeping us focused on this supposed problem? Because something else is going on, something sinister. What if the real goal is not to achieve equality, but to create division? to keep us distracted from other issues that are more pressing, to manipulate us into supporting policies that benefit a select few. It's time to look beyond the headlines and question the narratives we're being fed. It's time to dig deeper and understand the complexities of the issue. Only then can we work towards true equality and fairness for everyone. So, is the pay gap real? The answer is not as simple as yes or no. It's a multifaceted issue that requires careful consideration and a willingness to look beyond the surface. Let's start asking the right questions and seeking the truth. Golden handcuffs, the government subsidy trap. Enter the government, stage left. They swoop in like a knight in shining armor, ready to fix the problem. The problem, of course, is the lack of gender equality in the corporate world. The government, with its vast resources and influence, believes it can solve this issue by offering financial incentives to corporations. They offer corporations financial incentives, subsidies. These subsidies come in various forms, from direct financial aid to tax breaks and other monetary benefits. The idea is to encourage companies to adopt policies that promote gender equality in the workplace. Tax breaks, all to promote gender equality. The government believes that by reducing the financial burden on companies, they will be more likely to implement and maintain gender equality initiatives. This sounds like a win-win situation for everyone involved. Sounds great, right? Who could be against equality? After all, gender equality is a noble goal, and any effort to achieve it should be applauded. But there's a catch, a big one. Don't fall for it. It's a trap. These subsidies, while seemingly beneficial, come with strings attached. They create a dependency that can be hard to break free from. These subsidies are nothing more than golden handcuffs. They may look attractive and beneficial at first, but they bind corporations in ways that are not immediately apparent. They create a system of dependence. Once a corporation starts relying on these subsidies, it becomes difficult to operate without them. The company becomes entangled in a web of financial dependency that can stifle innovation and growth. Corporations become hooked on the government's free money. They start to prioritize maintaining their subsidies over other important aspects of their business. This can lead to a lack of focus on core business activities and a shift in priorities that may not be in the best interest of the company or its employees. And once they're hooked, they'll do anything to keep the cash flowing. This can include lobbying for more subsidies, altering business practices to meet government requirements, and even compromising on their values and principles. The golden handcuffs of government subsidies can ultimately lead to a loss of autonomy and control for corporations, making them more like puppets on a string, dancing to the tune of government policies and regulations. Hook, line, and subsidy, corporate dependence on government. In today's world, the relationship between corporations and the government has become more intertwined than ever before. What was once a clear line between private enterprise and public governance has now blurred into a complex web of dependencies and influences. Corporations, once bastions of free enterprise, are now puppets dancing to the government's tune. This shift didn't happen overnight. It has been a gradual process, fueled by the increasing availability of government subsidies and incentives. These financial aids, while seemingly beneficial, come with strings attached that often dictate corporate behavior and decision-making. They're told what to do, how to think, and what to say. The autonomy that once defined the corporate world is slowly eroding. Executives find themselves in a position where they must align their strategies and policies with government expectations. This alignment is not always in the best interest of the company or its stakeholders, but is seen as necessary to maintain financial support, all in the name of securing those sweet, sweet subsidies. These subsidies can take many forms, from direct financial aid to tax breaks and grants. They are designed to stimulate economic growth and innovation, but they also create a dependency that can stifle true entrepreneurial spirit. Companies become more focused on meeting the criteria for these subsidies than on pursuing genuine innovation and growth. It's a vicious cycle. They become afraid to speak out. The fear of losing financial support looms large, leading to a culture of compliance and conformity. This fear is not unfounded. History has shown that companies that challenge the status quo or question government policies often find themselves at a financial disadvantage, afraid to question the narrative because they know if they bite the hand that feeds them, the subsidies will disappear. This creates an environment where innovation is stifled and true progress is hindered. The focus shifts from creating value and driving progress to simply maintaining the status quo and ensuring continued financial support. And then what? They'll be left to fend for themselves in the cold, cruel world. Unthinkable. The prospect of losing government support is daunting. Without these subsidies, many companies would struggle to survive, let alone thrive. This dependency creates a fragile corporate ecosystem, where the balance of power is heavily skewed in favor of the government. The question remains, can true innovation and progress occur in such an environment? Or are we destined to see a future where corporate dependence on government stifles the very essence of free enterprise? Secret bunkers and volcanic eruptions unmasking the hidden agenda. So, what's the real goal here? Why all this effort to control corporations? It's simple, really. They're preparing for something big, something catastrophic, something they don't want us to know about. Think supervolcanoes, think global pandemics, think societal collapse. The elite are building bunkers, underground havens to ride out the apocalypse, and they're using our tax dollars funneled through these corporate subsidies to do it. Section 5. The media's complicity, manufacturing consent for the elite's plan. And where is the media in all of this? They're complicit, of course. They parrot the government's line. They demonize anyone who dares to question the narrative. It's all part of the plan. They distract us with celebrity gossip and reality TV. They keep us entertained, while the elite prepare for the end of the world as we know it. Don't believe everything you read, folks. Do your own research. Question everything. Section 6, historical echoes from pyramids to bunkers, a pattern of control. This isn't a new phenomenon. Throughout history, the powerful have always exploited the masses. They build their pyramids, they hoard their wealth, they protect themselves while leaving everyone else to fend for themselves. From the pharaohs of ancient Egypt to the tech giants of Silicon Valley, the playbook is the same. Control the narrative, control the resources, control the people. Section 7, the price of silence, eroding democracy and corporate independence. The cost of our silence is steep. We're sacrificing our freedoms, our democracy, the very fabric of our society. Corporations, once engines of innovation, are now beholden to the state. Independent thought is stifled, dissent is silenced. We're sleepwalking into a dystopian future where the elite rule from their underground bunkers while the rest of us struggle to survive.
The government needs money to help the wealthy elite and politically connected to survive the next global volcanic apocalypse. Providing corporations with unlimited funds that require no accountability or oversight can provide the wealthy elite and politically connected with all the capital needed to build whatever survival bunkers they want.